I'm about to make a bold claim, but I know that it's true. If you have an anxious attachment style and you really just want to become securely attached, this video right here is the most important video on the internet for you to watch right now. This is going to be the most helpful. And outside of this video, I run a program called the Secure Self Club. And my claim in the Secure Self Club is that I will help you go from anxious to secure in just 4 months, or you don't have to pay for my services. And to this day, we've had hundreds of people come through our program, and guess how many of them have ever asked for the money back at the end? They didn't feel like it worked for them. Zero. We've had none. And so today I'm going to be extracting some of the very same principles that I teach there and giving them to you here, but for free. So in this video, we're going to be going over 5 signs that you have an anxious attachment style. But more importantly, we're going to be going over 5 specific ways to heal that attachment style. And I'm not talking just generalities. I want to give you really specific, tangible tools and practices that you can use to become better. The number one sign that a person is dealing with an anxious attachment style is that they are driven by a fear of abandonment. If you're always worried that the other shoe is going to drop, that your partner's going to leave you, that your friends don't actually like you, then yeah, you've got a fear of abandonment going on. And that word might sound a little bit like catastrophic and it doesn't totally fit you, like abandonment. It's just the idea that people aren't really going to be there for you and they're not really choosing you. So how do you heal this? In short, the most powerful thing you can do to heal a fear of abandonment is to no longer, under any circumstances, abandon yourself. Again, the best way to heal a fear of abandonment is to no longer abandon yourself. Or in other words, you got to show up for yourself. And specifically, I love this technique. If you look at your history, how you grew up, you're most likely going to be able to pinpoint that you had some sort of unmet emotional need, something that you really needed, like maybe a parent who was emotionally available consistently, or maybe you just were like the youngest child. You weren't really heard very often. You didn't have much of a voice. You were kind of overlooked. You had a need for validation, for like emotional softness and closeness. Whatever the need is, step 1 is identify the need. Step 2 is fill the need. Show up for yourself specifically. Let me give you a story. I had a client in my work, and she recognized that her unmet need from childhood was she was never heard or seen growing up. And so what she did, she made an actual practice of filling that need for herself. On her drive home from work and her commute, she would voice note into her phone all about her day. She would talk about the stories of her day, her feelings, how she was doing. She would make jokes. Halfway through the drive, she would just play it back and listen with love. Listen with like this loving, compassionate ear to the things that she was saying. And you know what happened for her? Previously, she would come home with all this like pent up anxiety and kind of desire to have her partner really validate her, really listen to her, really see her. But her partner wasn't always available to do that, right? Sometimes your partner's going to be tired from a long day at work. Sometimes they're going to be distracted with something else, or sometimes they're just going to be stressed and they can't quite emotionally lock in. And when she would come home to that situation, it would create conflict, right? She'd get upset with them. Why do you never listen to me? You don't care about my day, blah, blah, blah. And it would just turn on conflict. But now, because she's filling her unmet need, she's coming home feeling a lot more grounded. She knows that she's been able to fill up her own emotional cup. And if her partner's got the capacity to do it as well, amazing. And if they don't, that's a bummer. It doesn't mean she's happy about it, but she's able to move through that situation without causing conflict, without creating any kind of challenge in the relationship. Isn't that so cool? So fill the unmet needs. Don't abandon yourself is point number 1. The second sign to look for to see if you have an anxious attachment style are feelings of unworthiness. If you struggle with the I'm not good enough feeling, then this is probably you. And here's the thing, if you have feelings of unworthiness or that you're not good enough, it doesn't mean that you wholesale 100% believe that all of you isn't good enough. Usually it almost feels like in part you believe that you're not good enough. There might be another part of your brain that recognizes like, hey, that's a silly thought. Like nobody's just downright not good enough. We all are worthy of love and belonging and all of that goodness. But there's probably a part of you that doesn't fully believe that. And I like to think about that part as the inner child. Think about experiences that you maybe had growing up where you didn't feel worthy of love. You felt left out, you were bullied, maybe overlooked in your family, whatever it was, you've had some experiences. And those experiences have reinforced a neural pathway for you that has created beliefs around you just not having worth because you were overlooked or bullied or so on. And yet, I'm going to guess that there's another part of you that we kind of already mentioned that is really loving towards all people. And that if anybody approached you, especially a little child, and they said, I'm not good enough, I just don't have worth, that you would be so loving and so nurturing, and you would be able to challenge those negative beliefs right out the gate. It's like, no, honey, you are amazing. You are beautiful. Like, here's why. So you've got two parts within you. You've got the wise, kind of almost parenting, nurturing part of you that could love on and support and encourage a child who feels like they're not good enough. But you also have within you the child who doesn't feel like they're good enough. And so first of all, just recognizing that these are two separate parts can be empowering. You realize it's not all of you. Not all of you feel like you're not good enough. And here's where the magic really happens. If you feel like you're not good enough and you struggle with that negative belief, I want you to make a practice of closing your eyes, and you can even do it right now. Close your eyes and see if you can notice in your body and in your feelings the part of you that doesn't feel good enough. It's a part of you that was created in childhood. Maybe you can even imagine it as your little child self in the moments where you were meant to feel like you weren't good enough, right? The quiet moments after the bullying was over, or the quiet moments when nobody was giving you the love and attention that you needed, or whatever that moment was. See if you can almost imagine that version of you where those negative beliefs were created. And if you can, and if you can feel love and compassion towards that version of you, you're off to a really good start. Because from that, almost the mindset of the loving, nurturing parent, you can imagine the scared child version of you and offer some love and compassion. It might sound a little weird for you, but a practice that I would encourage you to do is almost every time you feel that feeling that you're not good enough, see if you can shift into the part of you that could love, support, and nurture a child, and speak to yourself with that same love, that same nurturing. So if I were to do it, and I have done it many times in my life, I would notice, I kind of maybe close my eyes, maybe touch my chest, wherever I feel it. I say, hey, Trevor, I can see that you're not feeling good enough, buddy. I can tell that the way people are acting right now is making you doubt yourself. I know what it's like to feel that way. I want to remind you that you're always good enough. You're always worthy, even if you don't feel that way right now. This kind of dialoguing between you and your inner child is one of the most healing practices that you can implement into your life. And if it sounds a little bit difficult to like fully understand, I totally get it. It comes with a lot of practice. This is something that we guide and we go more in depth on in the Secure Self Club, my program to help people become secure. And so if you're like, oh, I'm not fully sure I get it yet, don't worry. If that tool resonates with you right now, it does. If not, we've got some other ones coming up. Okay, sign number 3 that you have an anxious attachment style is that you are a people pleaser, aka you're always trying to earn love, as if love and affection is transactional. And really at the heart of people pleasing is mistrust. You really don't trust that others are going to be there for you or show up for you unless you provide some sort of value or unless you earn it. And on the other hand, you don't trust yourself. You don't trust that you are actually lovable unless you're being valuable. So how do we heal this mistrust within you, the distrust that you have of others and the distrust you have of yourself that results in you people pleasing or abandoning your own needs? Which, by the way, you can kind of see how this one overlaps with the first point, where your fear of abandonment causes you to people please, in which you abandon yourself more. But beyond just showing up for yourself, which we already talked about, I would encourage you to learn how to trust in something that's way bigger than yourself and way bigger than the people in your life. Something that is constant, that is always there. For me, this is trusting in a higher power. You can call it God, you can call it Jesus, you can call it the universe, you can call it nature, consciousness, whatever you associate with. But learning how to build a trusting relationship with something that is constant, that is consistent, that provides peace and provides care beyond the influence of other people in your life, it will provide a grounding of security like no other. Let me give you an example from my life. I shattered my eye socket in a skiing accident. And the days after I blew up all the bones around my eye, I had my eyelid actually sewn shut after the surgery. I had a big bandage on it. I wasn't allowed to open it. And the other eye was just weeping so much that I couldn't really open that one either. And so for days, I kind of spent my time in darkness. My eyes were closed. I couldn't really do a whole lot. And I remember praying quite a bit, praying to my higher power. And you know what was interesting is I would pray that like my vision would be restored, because there was a really good chance that when they took the bandages off, I actually wouldn't be able to see again, or that my vision would be significantly impaired. But I remember praying specifically that, yeah, I could have my vision back and that I could have my normal life back. But I always added on this little phrase. I would say, but if not, help me to learn from this experience. Help me to grow. Help me to see, not visually, but help me to see who needs my help. Who can I serve because of the trial that I'm going through? Help me to become somebody new. And so it was always asking for what I wanted, but not holding on to it with this tight grip, letting go of the grip with the phrase that says, but if not, like, help me to trust. And you know what happened? Is that prayer repeated over and over again. It wasn't just in the days after breaking my eye. I was actually kind of practicing praying that way for many months before this incident. And I remember getting to the place where I was so at peace that I knew I'd be okay no matter what happened. When the bandages come off, if I quite literally lost my eye, I knew I'd be okay. And I knew I'd be at peace. And I felt like I could trust that that was how it was supposed to be for me. And I tell you what, once I got to that level of peace around something so big, dating, meeting people, worrying whether they were going to like me or not seemed easy, right? I'm no longer worried about rejection or abandonment when I literally was faced with the reality that I might lose my eye. And I was okay with it because I trusted that there was something bigger than me guiding my life and taking care of me. Long story short, my eye is actually impaired forever. I see double vision, 2 of everything. If you want to know what it looks like and you're not grossed out by this, if you push on the bottom of one of your eyes, it will naturally kind of split your vision. Keep both eyes open and push on the bottom lid, and you'll see 2 of everything. That's basically how I see the world now. We're coming up on point number 4, but before we get there, let me just mention the sponsor of this video. Me, my program, the Secure Self Club. We help people go from anxiously attached to securely attached in 120 days. And if they're not satisfied with their results, they don't have to pay. If that sounds like what you want, you can scroll to the bottom of this video. In the description, you can find 2 links. Number 1, a link to just book a call with a member of my team, and we can talk to you about our program, see if it's the right fit. And if not, we're going to help you figure out what could be a good fit. And the second link, which I really encourage you to check out, is a link to a free 15-minute seminar that's going to teach you the 4 essential elements that you're probably missing in your current healing approach that would make a really big difference if you want to become securely attached. That's more looking at why therapy is not working for you, or why books and podcasts and all the resources you've been gathering aren't getting you the progress that you need, and what shifts you need to make. So a little bit separate from what we're talking about here today. Sign number 4 that you have an anxious attachment style is that when it comes to conflict dynamics in your relationship, you are the pursuer. And the pursuer is the person who's always trying to solve the argument. You're kind of like chasing your partner around the house and they're saying like, we should just go to bed. And you're like, no, we're never going to go to bed. And you also, this might be a little bit of a gut punch, you might be a little bit more critical or judgmental when it comes to a conflict dynamic. And the reason is, if you've got that fear of abandonment and the belief that you're not good enough, and then your partner does something that triggers those in you, maybe they like forget to text you back, or they don't clean up after dinner with you and you feel kind of neglected, like whatever it is, whatever offense they commit, you in your fear, your panic state, feeling like you're getting abandoned or rejected, you don't necessarily, if you're an anxious attacher, usually have the best tact for asking for what you need. You might be thinking you're asking for what you need, but really it's going to come out sounding like criticism, such as like, you never put away the dishes after our meal. You never come home on time. Do you even love me? Why do you do X, Y, and Z? Anxious attachers are much more likely to point out the gap in what their partner's doing rather than ask for the bridge. And asking for the bridge is a much more secure and a much more effective way of getting what you need in a relationship. The way to heal this dynamic is learn how to identify the core fears, patterns, and insecurities that drive you in this conflict cycle. And for sake of time, I'm not going to explain all of it. There's actually another video that I did that I'll link here, all about how an anxious and avoidant partner can make it work in a relationship. And there, I give you a much further deep dive on how to identify and correct your patterns in conflict with your partner. We're on to the fifth and final point. The fifth sign that you might have an anxious attachment style is that you tend to date partners who have an avoidant attachment style. And it's not that you just magically attract them. Most likely, if you're driven by that fear of abandonment, that low self-worth that we've already talked about, then you're most likely going to do things like ignore red flags early on because you just really want to be chosen. You want somebody in your life. When those red flags persist, you stay in the relationship too long. Even though you know it's not good for you, you just really want it to work, and you're a bit more desperate for connection than you are respecting of yourself. The longer you stay in those kinds of relationships, the more you essentially re-injure your attachment style, because you're being abandoned emotionally. And so again, your fear of abandonment goes deeper. You're treated like you don't have a lot of worth. And so your fear that you're not worthy gets deeper. But the good news is you can heal this. And healing it looks like learning how to recognize red flags early on in the relationship and learning how to set boundaries when you see those red flags so that your boundaries can do what they're supposed to do. They can weed people out who aren't good for you and bring those in who are. And if you're not sure what your boundaries should be, I want you to look at your past relationships and look at points of discomfort where it feels like there probably should have been a boundary, and then articulate it from there. A lot of times it's easier just to look at your past relationships for clues as to what your boundaries should be for future relationships. And by the way, I made an entire other video on how to identify avoidant partners so that you stop dating them. I'll link it here as well. If you liked this video, please do the things: subscribe, like, drop me a comment. I want to hear from you. I would love to hear from you. In so doing, when you support my channel, you're really supporting my family, my beautiful wife, and my 2 little babies. And that means the world to me. And again, if you're interested in learning what are the essential elements and shifts you need to make in your healing journey in order to become securely attached, go ahead and go to the description of this video. There will be a link to go and watch the From Anxious to Secure seminar, where I'm going to teach you 4 essential elements that must be included in your healing process and in your healing journey if you want to be successful. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. Have a great day.